everyone, this is Beth Turner here with The Huddle, and today I'm with Sophie Hodgson, the COO of Blexr. Sophie, congratulations on your promotion.
Thank you very much, and hello.
Pleasure to meet you. So I'd love to start by getting to know a bit more about you, about your career before Blexr, and what took you to iGaming in the first place.
Yeah, I had a really different kind of career before Blexr in terms of industry. So I grew up and kind of left uni and joined a enormous like FTSE 20 organization in the defense sector. So joined as a HR graduate and worked in lots of different roles there, international roles, chief of staff roles, doing lots of different things. So there's like 86,000 people. So then now Blexr is around 90, so it's very, very different. And I guess what took me there, it was actually, in all honesty, it was people. So it was connections that I had. It was an opportunity. I started with Blexr as a consultant. So there were some like critical people things that they needed. I knew how to do them. I knew we had some connections in common, and I kind of got recommended. And I guess to begin with, I joined Blexr because I was interested in the work and the kind of opportunity. I was ready to leave that really big corporate machine. I wanted to work in smaller businesses. I had done roles there in the more tech sector focused of that defense company and really enjoyed the pace and some of the differences that were there. And I wanted to work for more like startup scale-ups because that's more what I enjoyed. My degree and background was in entrepreneurship. I'd done some of that stuff as well as some of the more corporate style learning bits, and I wanted to start applying that. So yeah, the work was really attractive, and that environment of it being in a much smaller business and having real autonomy to come and do that as a contractor and to put some things in and make a real difference. I think it's then when I got to Blexr, which was a totally new industry for me, and the affiliate space, something I wasn't familiar with, found it really, really interesting. And I think for me, there's always that thing around like, what's the purpose of this organization and why would I want to be a part of it? And sometimes that's really compelling, sometimes it's really strong, and sometimes it's not. But I think Blexr has that real kind of attraction of, we want to really drive like real user value, and that's not something that you get a lot in the affiliate space. And when I joined, we were kind of going through an acquisition where we were looking to bring in an ADR service. We launched casinoreviews.com. We got that service, the ADR service set up, and it was those differences that made it stand out as a bit of a different kind of organization, and ultimately why I then joined full-time and worked in different roles in Blexr over the past couple of years.
Fantastic. I mean, it sounds like it was completely different both in scale and in industry, so it must have been so new, but you can kind of take both together. So that's a fantastic way to go about it. And recently, before you got your promotion to COO, you were the VP of People and Talent at Blexr. What experiences did you gain from that role, and how do you think they'll benefit you now in your new role?
Yeah, I absolutely loved being VP of People and Talent, and I still have People and Talent in my new remit. Of course, I've not let go of any of that. I think it's a really good move for us as an organization. So some of the stuff I've been doing over the past couple of years in that VP role has been really launching and embedding what our Blexr company values are, what that actually means. So a lot of people have values, but and what? So like, what are the behaviors that underpin those? We've launched career frameworks. We've launched monthly career conversations. We've launched all our benefits, like loads of foundational people things where we've really focused on what's the people experience. So we work in a product-led organization. Well, the people experience is a product in itself. And how do we think about it in those terms? And how do we enhance that user experience, aka our employees? So I think it's kind of that. So some of that mindset shift, because obviously moving into the COO role is very different in terms of where my focus is, the strategies I'm thinking about, where I kind of sit and play in the business and what I need to understand, and I'm learning a lot. But I think that kind of fundamental approach is actually really similar, and that's what made the people stuff that we've been doing in the past years really successful in itself. And also because of the stuff we were doing in terms of values, culture, behaviors, that then shift that we're making as a company to bring somebody like me who is a people kind of specialist into an exec role as a COO, I think that bias towards the people experience is really important, and it helps us be what we say we want to be, which is that like people first organization. So yeah, I think that benefit of putting that right into that kind of top spot exec should hopefully really double down on the things that we say that we're going to do.
Fantastic. And like you said, you're not losing any of your VP role responsibilities from your previous position, but what are going to be some new responsibilities you're taking on as COO? Are there any you're particularly nervous or excited to take on?
Yeah, I'll just say I'm excited about them all and terrified in equal measures. But I think that's been every job I've ever had. I've felt like that, which is a measure of it's the right thing in kind of my scale of how I know what's right steps. But yeah, so people and talent, I'll still have all of that. And I have an amazing team there. But it's really, the operations side, which, well, that might sound a bit silly because obviously it's operations officer, but it's that kind of all of the internal, how does the business run? All of that now sits with me, and that's across, having an accountability and driving the standards and the way we work right across all our products. We have various tribes that work on those. There's a lot of opportunity within Blexr that I'm really excited about to make that more consistent, to make the business plans and roadmaps ladder up so that across the whole business, we've got a lot more clarity in our strategies and things. One of the other things as well that I'm really excited about, and we just kind of kicked off with the whole company today, is I've been establishing the new leadership team that we'll have, which sits underneath the exec to really lead across our products and represent all the different chapters we have in the company, and to look at the strategy cycle that we're going into. So it's very much that like everything internally facing, like how do things work around here? How do we make them effective? How do we make sure we translate strategy into roadmaps? How do we coordinate all our teams around that? What's the cadence of how we meet as a business, how we communicate, how we deliver, how we measure that, how we celebrate success? All of that, like true operation stuff now sits with me. So that's the big shift. And that's the stuff that I love, because I think that's a lot of the changes we've made in the people and talent chapter itself. So it's kind of taking all of that skill set and just applying it right across the business. And, I can't help but just interfere with everything anyway. So now I have the license to do it. And I mean that in a really positive way. It's not like supportive, helping people to drive more. So yeah, I'm excited for that.
Fantastic. It sounds like a big challenge, but like a big challenge that you're ready to take on. All the best to you in that.
Thank you. Yeah.
So one thing kind of changing away from, obviously you're going to be in an executive role. What traits do you feel make a good leader?
Oh, that is a good question. I think there's that thing around like authenticity, right? Like you are who you are. So I think knowing yourself really well and then making sure you can emphasize those things about yourself that help get the best out of people is really good. And then being aware of the things that are maybe not the best and managing those. But for me personally, I like to really listen to my team. I want them to feel like they are accountable. I want to help them own their work, own their success. But also knowing when to speak. And I think one of the key things that can often happen is, and one of the things I think I do particularly well and what will help me in the COO is cutting through a lot of the noise. So, we all turn up to work and we're all these completely different people with different ways of thinking about things, different ways of working. And sometimes that can be overwhelming because we're 20 people and we're trying to do this thing and we all do it 20 different ways. But putting through a lot of that and bringing things down to like simplicity is always where I like to live. So I'm always like, the less work, the better. And I don't mean we're not doing the good stuff, we're not doing the right stuff, but like when we have all of those voices, we have all those opinions, we have all those ways of doing things, it can tend to make things over detailed and overemphasized, and we over engineer things. So I think as a leader, it's kind of that listening, helping people be accountable, helping them understand how they can do things really well, but also being able to speak up and talk about what shouldn't be done and how we simplify things and how we help people to focus and help them to therefore make sure they're successful. I think that's super important. And of course, it's for us particularly, it's role modeling the values we had. I mentioned those before. So we're really clear on how we want people to show up to work, and we're really clear on the kind of environment we want to create. And obviously, as a leader, it's being really conscious of that and doing that every day. With purpose and kind of like with intention to do so.
Fantastic. And kind of going into that a bit more, you're also a woman in leadership. And across the gaming industry, there's a push to get more women into leadership roles, into exec roles, and getting women into these kind of positions. What do you think the gaming industry can do to encourage more women to get into the industry and to develop their careers in the industry?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I have come from a background, I mentioned before, in defense where, it's probably like 20% of women in the workforce in general. So very much used to working in environments where that ratio is, quite biased. I think it's with any groups, whenever kind of lens of diversity you put on things. For me, I think it's about clarity. So one of the big things that I have done in the people and talent world and will now do across all of Blexr is be very, very clear about what we are and what we aren't. So in the people and talent world, this is what we offer, this is how we do things, this is what we don't offer, and actually, no, you can't have this benefit or this thing because we do these things, remember, and it's that these are the gives and gets, and it's clarity. And I think it kind of applies to how you market, your business, your employee value proposition. If you give people clarity, they can make decisions. And I think then, if you want to attract more women into your business, or if you want to attract other kinds of diversity into your business, you can create that kind of environment, and you can create those. It's not about the biases. It's about, you can create somewhere where people like that will feel included, where they'll feel they'll want to be there. But then it's about how you communicate about that. And it's about how you give the clarity around what that is and what isn't, because then people can make their choices. So I think in terms of getting more women into your business, and if that's in the gaming industry or anywhere else, I would start with being really clear about what you are and what you aren't, but then also think about how you communicate that, because communication is often the bit that's also missing. And that's what people look for. They look for, like, can I understand this place? Is this a place where I'm going to fit in? Is this a place where I'm going to feel comfortable? Is this a place where I feel I can be successful? So I think it's that. I think it's know what you offer, communicate it really clearly, and people will make choices, because the other thing is then when people arrive, that has to be true, because that has to live up to all those things that you've said it is. So yeah, I'm super kind of passionate about all kinds of like diversity in the workplace, not just gender. At Blexr, having now our first female exec is super exciting for me. And we've had some people in business comment on that about how great it is to see, but also our leadership team that I mentioned before, we've just established, that is actually more females than males in that kind of diversity. And we have other types of diversity in that. It's really, really important, because we're trying to create that representation where we're making decisions or we're thinking about things, we have those different perspectives in the room. And I think so, creating that leadership is a good thing for businesses to do as well, because then you'll bring up other people that are working their way through the business, and they can see that, and it's role modeled. But yeah, I think it's really think about what you want, think about the kind of environment you're trying to create to make people feel like they can be themselves and successful, and then think about how you represent that at the top levels, and also how you communicate that externally if it's about bringing people into the business.
Fantastic. That's an amazing answer. Thank you for that. Now, I've just got one more for you just to kind of round things out today, but I really do appreciate your time today, Sophie. But for you personally, what do you hope to achieve in your first year as COO?
That is a really good question. I think it's probably the thing I mentioned before around communication and transparency. So one massive shift that I'm super proud of all the work that in the people and talent kind of chapter over the past few years is bringing a lot of communication to all our employees about that, what the people experience is, what they can expect, and looking at how we enhance that along every stage of like the employee life cycle. And that's obviously my background, that's my specialty, that's my technical skills, but the principles of that are fundamentally important for now me to apply in that COO role. So I want to bring that, I said about being responsible entirely for all like how we work as a business and all those internal operations. And for me, it's applying those principles and that style around transparency, around communication. This is how we work. This is how I expect things are done. This is the clarity on what you now know is your role and how you contribute to our strategy. All of that stuff, applying those principles into across the whole business in terms of that operational lens of things, I think creates a really fulfilling work environment where people know what we do, why we do it, how they contribute, how we are measuring success, how successful we are. It's changing, I think, some of the opportunities that we've got there to bring a lot more of that to all of our people. So that's kind of the initial focus of where I'm kicking off. And I mentioned before as well, establishing that leadership team who are going to represent all those areas and really be the driving force of making sure our strategy becomes roadmaps, becomes delivered. So yeah, it's that kind of thing that I want to apply from the experience that's been really successful today into the operations space and beyond. So yeah.
Fantastic. Well, all the best to you on that. And yeah, thank you for watching, everyone. I do appreciate your time.